one of the foundations of how I learned how to be organized and be structured to where I am today.
Discipline.
I think it's from boarding school. Yes, and I'm really grateful for that. So it was super structured, very strict.
Welcome to the show. I am your host, Anyoh, and I spark the heart conversations that challenge questionable cultural and societal norms that threaten the well-being of the African community. And I also share stories about growing up as Africans in Africa and in the diaspora. I strongly believe that normalizing open discussions and sharing experiences, whether good or bad, will not only make you find your voice, but will broaden your sense of purpose and empower others to do the same. So if you have ever tried challenging certain African cultural and societal doctrines, or if you have ever felt like it is about time that we confronted these issues in our African community and do better as a people, or even if you have always been interested in learning about the experiences of other Africans growing up in Africa and the diaspora, then you are in the right place. Welcome to Living African. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Living African. So today I wanted to do something a bit different, a bit fun actually. And so I just wanted to do this out of the blue, and this is because the other day I was just reminiscing about life in boarding school back home in Cameroon. Now, I know my junior sister actually goes to boarding school here in America, and I have come to learn that life in boarding school in America is totally different from the life in boarding school back in Cameroon, especially back in the day when I was in boarding school. Now, it's over 10 years since I went to boarding school back in Cameroon, and we basically had like 5 years of secondary school. We called it secondary school. And then we had 2 years of high school, which is the opposite here. They rather have 4 years of high school. Now, back then in boarding school, when I was there, you know, there were a lot of interesting things, a lot of fun memories, and a lot of things that I will not want to think about just because life was very hard. Now, I remember when I always told my friends and classmates back in college, when I told them the life of boarding school, they compared that to life in the military here in America, because there was a very high level of discipline. There was a very high level of accountability, a very high level of just go, 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 go. Now, I will tell you how the schedule in basically the life of a typical boarding student in the school I went to back in Cameroon. Actually, I went to a Presbyterian school, and it's called Presbyterian Secondary School Mankan. And it was one of the most prestigious schools in the country. And so on a typical day, the days varied, but they didn't really vary as much. But on a typical day, we have, you wake up at 5:30 in the morning. You have 45 minutes to, clean up. And what I mean by clean up, like you have to scrub the dormitory, clean up the dorms, or we had portions. What we call portions is they partitioned different parts, like in the compound of the dorms. They partitioned different parts and assigned students to take care of, either by weeding the grass, clearing up, or sweeping and stuff like that. And you took care of those portions for the entire year. So you have 45 minutes to wake up, make up your bed, make sure your bed is well made up. You clean the dormitory and your portions, and then you take a shower. And then by 6:15, you're ready for roll call. They call it roll call. And basically, you go to, they call it I think it's a roll call line, or the assembly ground, right? And then you have to stand in formation. You stand in formation, and you basically have to make sure that you're present. So they do a roll call to make sure everyone is present. And if you're absent, then of course you're going to have to be punished, right? And the punishment varies. The punishment varies depending on the crime. So after roll call, you march to the chapel. I think roll call should take about 15 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. Like I said, it's over 10 years since I went to boarding school. So actually over 15 years. So my memory still fades, but these are things that were so regular. It was a thing that we did, cyclical activities on a daily basis. So it's hard for me to really remember the details, even though I can still remember the main things that we were doing. But now when you go to the chapel around 7:30, morning devotion and announcements take about maybe 30 minutes. So by 8, I think, you go to class, and then you have the first part of the the first period. Yes, they called it periods. So the first period. And now the first period goes all the way to, I think maybe 10, from 8 to 10. Or is it 8 to 9:30? And then we have breakfast at 9:30 to 10, I believe. And with each of these activities, you want to make sure that you're on time, because if you're not on time, you will be punished. And then the second period starts from 10 to about 12 noon. And then 12 noon to 12:15, we have a break, like a short break. And then from 12:15 to 2, we have the third period. Now from 2 to 2:30, we have lunch. And then from 2:30 to 3:30, I believe, is siesta. And here in America, they call it nap time. So you have nap time, an hour nap time. And then after that, after 3:30, now there's a couple of things that happen depending on what class you are. Usually the classes, that's the final year students, in terms of like the students who are in the final year of secondary school and the final year of high school, they always had additional classes in the evening because they were preparing for the final exams, which is like the national standardized exams that they have to take to qualify them to move on to the next phase of education, either maybe high school or university. And then you had the other classes. They either have works, which means, you just go and you work on your portion that was assigned to you, or they have sporting activities, or just, whatever. And then in the evenings, well, I think all of that spans from 3:30 to maybe 5:30. Yes, it spans from 3:30 to 5:30. And then 5:30 to 6:30, they give you an hour to get ready, to shower and, get ready for dinner. And then 6:30 to 7. Yeah, 6:30 to 7 is dinner time. And then, no. Well, I must have been mistaken, but either 6 to 7 is dinner time or 6:30 to 7 dinner time. And then preps. Preps is basically just preparing for the next day. And in preps, you study, right? So you study what you've been taught the day of or the day before, or you prepare for exams, just any preparatory activities, but academic preparation, basically. So you study for preps from 7 p.m. to 9:15. And then at 9:15, we have evening devotion, which is about 15 minutes. So 9:15 to maybe 9:30. And then from 9:30, we go back to the dorms. And then we have 30 more minutes to get ready for the next day. And then by 10 p.m., we have lights out. So the lights are out. Now, at the start of each activity throughout the day, you have basically a drum. You have the timekeeper that assigns someone to play a drum at each time. So there's like a very loud gong. It's like a percussion, that goes off, and the whole school hears that, or at least is expected to hear that. And then also every student should be aware of the schedule as well. So even if the drum doesn't go off, you should be at the right place at the right time and doing the right thing, basically. That was our modus operandus. Be at the right place, doing the right thing, and at the right time. And so, and then the lights go off at 10 p.m. and then the lights come back on at 5:30. And so I would think like every one of the students that went to boarding school has this sense of waking up at 5:30, especially in school. Like you don't even have to, like the gong or the percussion doesn't go off at 5:30. The lights just go on and then everyone wakes up. So that, I think that's like a life skill that we learn, to basically just be very sensitive to light, to the point that even if you are very, very deep asleep, once that light just switches on, everyone just wakes up and boom, 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 boom. Another day starts with the series of activities. So that was my memory. And in addition to that, we build lifelong friendships. I went to boarding school for 7 years, and that's from the age of like 10 to like 16, 17. So I basically had so many friends. I made so many friends. Imagine living 9 months out of a year in boarding school with all of these people. So you lived with them more than you even lived at home. So there were so many fond memories, so many mischievous things that happened and stuff like that. But I really wanted to get a couple of friends and family to, share their experiences in boarding school and just share those fond memories that they may have had in boarding school, just to give us some kind of nostalgic events to reminisce on. So our first guest will be Arbomo. And Arbomo is a very good friend of mine. We've been friends for over 10 years. And so I just want to call him to tell us about his own experience in boarding school. And Abromo is a couple of years older than me, not that much older. And I am super excited to know about his own experience in boarding school because we did not go to the same boarding school. So let's give Abromo a call right now.
Hello.
Hi, Abromo.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's Saturday weekend.
I know. We all need that much needed rest, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I know I had spoken to you about like boarding school experiences and I really wanted you to share with us. So can you tell us basically and you're from Cameroon as well. So can you tell us?
That's correct.
Yeah. So can you tell us what boarding school you went to and like just a brief summary of like the schedule that you can remember? Because like the listeners, it's over 15 years since I went to boarding school. So I can only remember as much. So you can just tell us, the schedule that you guys had in your school.
Yeah. So I went to Bishop Rogan. So it's funny. It's actually a priestly formation school. I was there for 5 years.
Right.
Of course, I didn't have the vocation to become a priest, so I ended up having to go to St. Augustine for high school.
Right.
In terms of schedule, so both schools are mostly Catholic schools, so there's always that Catholic vibe. Bishop Rogan is a little bit more intense because of the priestly formation. Mm-hmm. So early in the morning, wake up time typically is around 5 a.m. because we got to be in church by 6. Mm-hmm. And, the structure is you have probably discipline master, prefects, mm-hmm. Coming down in every dormitory to make sure everyone is out of the dorm mm-hmm. and ready to go into the chapel for prayers. So we go in for prayers by 6 a.m. And then between 6 a.m. and 7 a.m., we all do the prayers, and then we go straight for breakfast. Mm-hmm. We go for breakfast by 7 a.m., and then by 8, we're in class. Well, 8:30, we go in front of the campus where they do mostly, it's kind of like we sing the anthem. Mm-hmm. Then maybe the principal can have like a little discussion on how the day is going to look like, conversations about expectations from every student, and then we go into class and have our regular class. Till probably noon, I believe we'll have like a break. Yeah. And then later on, maybe that afternoon, when class is over, we have lunch, and then we do a little siesta. Mm-hmm. After siesta till like maybe 3, to give a chance for everyone to kind of like wind down. Either you have like clothing, you need to wash up, but that mostly happens on weekends. During the week, you have to come back to class to start maybe studying, preparing, maybe for your class the next day, doing homework and different things like that. Mm-hmm. Then we go have dinner. Before dinner, we go again for mass. There's evening mass. Mm-hmm. Evening mass will start from like 6 p.m. till sometime around 7 p.m. Mm-hmm. Then after evening mass, we go for dinner. Mm-hmm. Then from dinner, we come back to class and do a little bit of studying. It's pretty typical for every Catholic school. That's almost about the same structure. Wow. Except with Bishop Rogan, it's because of the priestly formation, we have a lot of singing, we have meditation period. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We have a bunch of different things that, boils down into the formation of a priest. Wow. But it's kind of typical for every Catholic school mm-hmm. to have morning and evening mass. But with Bishop Rogan, it was a little bit slightly different because we have meditation period. Mm-hmm. We have more of a counseling period. We have so many different things.
Wow. And did they follow the same, in Bishop Rogan, did they follow the same curriculum as every other school since they were basically preparing, the students to be priests?
Yes, it's pretty much the same curriculum, but then we do have additional subjects that we do, like Latin. You have to learn how to speak Latin. So not every school would teach that. But Bishop Rogan, because you're preparing to become a priest, they need you to be able to speak Latin and to be able to use that kind of language, church, which was, I'm not going to lie to you, I never learned anything in Latin. It was mostly just to pass an exam, but I still do understand a little bit in it.
Wow, interesting. So I guess you have two fond memories, right, from two different schools.
I did. Two different schools. I have to be very honest with you. Being in Bishop Rogan is because it's a single-sex school.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It was a lot. It's a bigger different experience compared to going to a school like St. Augustine, where now you have to be in a campus where the women there.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know how to behave around them. You don't know
how to act.
because you've never really been with them.
I know. Yeah. By the way, my school too, the Presbyterian school, it wasn't a single sex. So it was both boys and girls, So how was your own experience at Bishop Rogan? Let's start from there. Like what fun memory? Yeah.
Oh man, I have so many fun memories, and I feel so shy talking about it because I'm supposed to have been within that priestly formation with that mentality that, you know what, I'm building up to become a priest.
Right.
But then there were always this distraction. We had SASE, that was a school not too far from us. Mm-hmm. We did a lot of different things in conjunction with one another. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say that there was some level of influence having another single-sex school that's Catholic next to us, but that's not a priestly formation school.
Yeah.
But then we interact with them. We do a lot of competition with them. But there was always this perception that most Bishop Rogan students probably always wanted to compete with the next school. Mm-hmm. And the competition went to the point where it became more of a, how to act. As opposed to understanding that you can't compare with students of a school where they're not being formed to become priests. So, but there's always most of my friends were from that school anyway. Mm-hmm. So I always found myself having to behave a little bit more like them, act a little bit more like them, because it made me feel like I belonged in that circle. Mm-hmm. So, in terms of memories, I can tell you that when I was in Form 4, which is the first time I got actually suspended from school, there was this new club that I just opened up called Malay Nightclub. It was in Moliko. So typically, right, before 11 February, 20 May just passed, which was probably one of the best periods where we all go for, it's an outing period where we match. Yeah. You get to connect with students from different schools.
Yeah. And 20th May, first of all, 20th of May, that's like the Independence Day, right? Is it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is.
Independence Day for Cameroon.
Independence Day. Exactly. Yeah. So every school gets together, we get to match, and it was an opportunity for students to reconnect with other students from different schools, different campuses, and then we get to match. But then some students like us that were always curious about life and trying to build new experiences, we will probably sneak and go into a day party. The club will start. So what happened was the day before 20th May, we don't have really structure in terms of how to iron, get yourself prepared. So a week before 20th May, everyone folds your clothes and put it under the pillow because you want to sleep on top of it and make sure it's straight.
Right. Yeah, I remember that. We did that too. You had to fold your clothes and put under the pillow. And then when you have the lines on your uniform, that's God, those were crisp.
Yep, exactly. So fold our clothes, put it in at least a week ahead.
Yeah.
Get everything all polished and, get everything prepared. And few students like us, we, being in a single sex school, this is an opportunity for you to meet girls and other students from different schools, different campuses. Some of us will probably go to Limbe, hang around at SS Club because we know some of those second girls will come around and hang around there.
Right.
And then we end up going for day parties. But this one time we hung out. It was my first time actually going clubbing. So we went to the day party. It's so dark in there that you don't even know how time flies. Remember that when it's an outing, you have to be back on campus by 6 p.m. As soon as you get on campus, they start doing roll call.
Roll call, yeah.
And if you don't answer your name, they will look for you on campus. And if you're not on campus, that punishment. And it could even lead to dismissal depending on what, if you didn't have an excuse as to where you were. So what happened was the day party started sometime around noon, 1 p.m. Everyone goes in, you have fun, you're enjoying. Those who are students who, from boarding school, like us that are boarders, we have to leave and start leaving by 5 p.m. Those who are in public schools that are not boarders, they can hang out there all night if they want because the next day, they don't leave on campus.
Yeah.
You know, us that live on campus, we have to leave.
Yeah.
But then it was, you know, growing up, I don't think the perception of owning a watch was really something very vital.
Yeah, it wasn't.
You know, you just have to play it in your mind.
Right.
Play it in your mind that maybe this is probably the time and you move forward.
Yeah, and there were no cell phones back then too.
Exactly,
So.
No cell phones, nothing. I mean, I find it so strange currently, right, how everyone really treats cell phones, right?
I know. Like, we survived without
back then,
them.
Life was just so easy. You didn't even have to worry about calling or receiving a call. You didn't have to worry about so many different things.
Yeah.
But right now, we go back home, even students that are probably in their first grade already have phones. A cell phone.
Yeah.
You know? In fact, if you had a cell phone at my age, and my dad would find out he had a cell phone, that's a big problem. It's a major problem.
Oh, yes. That's true.
It's a major problem. But now it's a normal thing for anyone to even own one.
Yeah.
So I find it so amazing how life has changed since then.
Yeah.
But it was my first unique experience going out and having fun with a bunch of friends. And it was my first time going to a club, and I just overdid it.
Oh,
because when I looked at the time, it was already almost 9 p.m.
Oh, no.
The roll call had passed. They had looked for me with a bunch of other students that were hanging out in there. Quite frankly, I'm still upset with some of them because I don't know how they got their name on the list. You know how Cameroon is. Everyone has their connection.
Yeah.
Parents who know, like discipline masters.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the discipline master will call the parent and say, your son came in late, but I mark their names. I think I still need to have a conversation with a few of them.
I can see you're traumatized.
Campus.
You still have that trauma.
Oh, man. I still feel it, especially sometimes when the thoughts of the fact that my parents didn't have a lot of connection.
Oh.
You know, I don't think my dad cared very much about trying to build some type of unique relationship with either teachers, discipline masters, or anything.
Yeah.
My dad is mostly that kind of person that says like everyone needs to be treated the same.
Yeah.
But then you had these students, they were giving everything, coming to campus with their yogurt, milk, everything put together, you know, but hey. So I came in late, never answered my name. I worked 1 week of punishment. I still got suspended for it. I'm telling you, they walked me out. I still have some of those blisters on my hands.
Oh my goodness.
I still have them.
Oh my goodness.
I still have them.
How old were you back then?
Man, I would say I was like 14.
Yeah.
About 14 or 15.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting that it was so normal? Actually, I remember we even had neighbors like, you know, the age where you start being considered an adult is like maybe 13, 14 back home.
Exactly.
You know, like I officially started drinking. I had a taste of alcohol the very first time with my parents when I was like 13. And, you know, they started with like Baileys. They were like, hey, come get a taste and stuff like that. You know, I feel like that was the cool thing because I feel like not restricting us too much from things, especially things that like had to do with, you know, like alcohol and even just partying and stuff like that, or going to parties, not restricting us made us to not be, to an extent, and that's my opinion actually, it made us to not be too excited about it and abusive of it.
Exactly.
You know, so
one of my favorite things growing up was birthdays. Like you said, we drink a little bit.
Yeah.
They share wine around. They get us to drink a little bit. But, you know, like you said, it made us not to feel like we
had to abuse it, or we had to, there's no age. I don't even think there's like a specific, like a standard age, or at least they may be, but it's really not applicable to the best of my knowledge,
not really.
You know, of drinking and stuff. Like you could see, like you see parents send like their 7-year-old child to go down the street. I don't know if they still do that, to buy alcohol or to buy a cigarette for them and bring, and nobody even judges them. Nobody even thinks that they are the ones drinking it and stuff like that. But times have changed. I don't know how things are. It's been 16, 17 years since I left Cameroon. So I don't know how things are, you know, but those are the kind of things that, you know, it just fascinates me when you look at the times now, especially in the Western world where they have all these restrictions, but people still end up abusing. You know, I'm not saying people don't abuse all these things back home as well, but it probably is not as rampant as here because people don't really get excited to, you know, to do that.
Yeah.
That's just from my
You know,
observation.
I just feel like our parents taught us to be independent at a very young age.
Yeah.
I had the conversation
Yeah,
with
that's
my
true.
son
And
once.
boarding school, actually, I think it's boarding school that taught us to be very independent. Because
Exactly.
think about the schedules, because our own schedule is like 5:30 in the morning that we wake up. Now they even have 7, 8-year-old kids waking up, like going through all of that at a very young age. I mean, by 10, 12 years old, you're going to be so independent and so resistant that to stress or to hard life that, you know, I mean, you can only go onwards, you know. So the boarding school, the whole ideology of boarding school per se, it taught us to be really, really independent, you know.
Independent and
yeah, it taught us some level of tenacity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of Africans, you know, especially Cameroonians, tend to do well here in the United States because you have to be disciplined to do certain things at a certain time. In fact, the system itself puts you in a situation where you have to be at work at a certain time. You have to be able to be back home, cook, do certain things, go to sleep at a certain time. That discipline is something that we grew up harnessing as little kids.
Yeah.
And to even imagine that there were kids 5 years old, you know, walking to school for miles.
Oh, yes.
Unsupervised.
Oh, yes.
You know.
Yes.
If I let my son go to the park, even at the age of 7 that he is right now,
I know,
without a parent, someone will probably call 911.
Oh, yes. I remember, you know, there was this story because when I was in primary school, my siblings and my parents were working, so they didn't really have time to pick us up in the afternoon, you know, after school. So my mom would drop us off at school, and then they hired a cab driver who basically picked us up every time, you know, after school and took us back home when my parents could not take us home. And, you know, I was just talking to my brother the other day and I was like, oh my God, you know, imagine we were very innocent back then. We were very, you know, I mean, and of course, like now, we're very naive. And now that cannot even happen with the whole idea of like abuse, child trafficking and all of those things like that. Cab driver could easily just like take us all, you know, because we were like, 5 of us in the car. And then I remember one time the cab driver did not come and we had to walk. Like we didn't have cell phones, so we couldn't call my parents. Nobody, you know, like, so we didn't have even fixed phones to call. So we knew the road home, but this was like a couple of miles. And back then we were like, 6, 7, we had to walk. I mean, a lot of children actually walk to and from school. Like we were the ones that always were driven to school, you know? So when you think about that, I mean, it just amazes one to realize how times have changed, how things have changed, you know? So, yeah, but thank you so much.
I don't want to blame this on technology, but honestly, I think like
technology has something to do with it because the purpose of technology is to make life easy, right? Back then, life was hard. We didn't know it was hard because that's all we had, right? But now, I mean, technology and technological advancements have really made life so easy. I mean, like, for example, look at how we left from the stick shift to the automated car. And now we have the Tesla, the electric cars, like a self-driving car at this point. Like, how lazy can we get? You know? So I feel like all these advancements have just made life so easy to the point that we get complacent and lazy in response. So, yeah.
And that's true.
Yeah. So that's it. But thank you so much. I really appreciate your story.
Thank you.
It was so nice.
Thank you so much.
I know. I think we should have these conversations more often, actually. This is so good.
We definitely should. If I start talking about stories, we probably wouldn't end up this call. So.
I would imagine, but don't worry. I mean, there's always another time. I'm definitely going to do this again. But thank you so much for sharing your story, and I will talk to you later.
All right. Thank you, and have a blessed day.
Okay. You too. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
So that was such a very wonderful and interesting conversation I had with my dear friend Abomo. And so our next guest that we will be talking with will be my big sister, Antoinette. So let's give a call to Antoinette to see what she's up to, and then we will have that conversation.
Anyoh from Bunk.
Yes, Miss Coco Chanel. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Oh, you're on record, by the way.
Oh,
when you called, I was talking to somebody else. So Yeah, thank you so much for willing to share your story. So I actually am just reminiscing about, life in boarding school. And what I did was I shared my experience in my school. I went to Presbyterian Secondary School, Mankan. And I believe you went to Our Lady of Lourdes, which was a single sex, like all girls school. And I can't wait to hear your story. First of all, I can't wait to, if you could just give us a rundown of like a typical day in the life of a boarding student in Our Lady of Lourdes Secondary School. And then, you can talk about your fond memory that you had.
Oh, okay. By the way, thank you so much for inviting me to participate. I love your podcast, and I love how you're breaking boundaries and, creating more awareness and having people really dig deep and reevaluate their beliefs. So kudos to you for that. I'm really proud of you, and I appreciate you doing that for the community.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Yeah. So I went to Lourdes, Our Lady of Lourdes Secondary School. It's an all-girls school. When I was a student over there, we only had from Form 1 to Form 5. We didn't have the high school like we do now.
Yeah.
So, the honest truth is I always just admired going to that school. My mom actually wanted me to go to PSS, where you went, because my siblings went there.
Right.
And I decided not to go for the interview. I went to Lourdes interview by myself, by the way.
Oh, wow.
I was very assertive, yeah. And I got in. So
interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say being in an all-girls school, it's, because I went to a mixed school for high school. When I compare the two, I think it nurtures you in very specifically, like as a woman. I don't know how to explain that, but as I got older, I look back and I kind of see how people could, we could, or like students that graduate from there could seem sheltered, and not very worldly. But the best part about it is that it grooms your womanhood. It really does. Mm-hmm. It creates sisterhood. It helps you to appreciate your fellow woman, and it grows you. Yeah. And it helps you focus on things that are naturally like feminine. So, yeah. And to add also, it boosts your faith. Because, girl, let me tell you, I'm sorry for diving in, but that's one of the memories that, I can't believe I went to Mass every morning for 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Every morning. 5 o'clock, wake up. I did not like the cold showers. I can tell you that.
Yeah. I forgot about the cold showers. Oh my God. Yeah, we didn't have warm water in school. So we showered sometimes even outside in the cold, the freezing cold at 5:30 a.m. or 5 a.m. in cold water.
Yes. It was, the buckets had to be outside. So you can imagine when it was that cold at 5 a.m. in the morning. I did not like, but let me tell you, it did wake us up. That's for sure.
Right. Yeah. It woke us up for sure. Probably made us younger too.
Yes. It sure did. But I like Mass sometimes. I love choir. Oh my God. The choir is so beautiful. It's so soothing. Like when you hear a bunch of people just singing a cappella,
Yeah.
I miss that. I miss going to the cathedral. I did like going there very much so. The Lourdes was very structured. Like super structured. I think that's one of the foundations of how I learned how to be organized and be structured the way I am today.
Discipline.
I think it's from boarding school. Yes, and I'm really grateful for that. So it was super structured, very strict. We only wore uniforms for everything except our nightgowns. We're not allowed to bring like outside clothes like other secondary schools probably were.
Yeah.
And
that's true.
I did like our outings though. We had an outing once a month. We'd go to town and go home and visit our parents.
But you know what? I know you were a couple of years ahead of me. When I was in Form 1, like the first year of secondary school, we used to have those outings once a month. And then they turned it around and they gave us outings in my school once a semester or once a term, I think. It was so tragic. I know. It was so bad. They gave us an outing just once like a term, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, goodness. That's hard.
Yeah.
That's really hard. We had one outing a month, and then we also had one visiting a month.
Yeah, we had one visiting as well in an entire semester.
Oh, no. Oh, my goodness. You definitely miss your family.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had that, so I like that. And then the other thing that I actually really liked, and it was such a buzz, was house feast and school feast. So like our school was kind of like affiliated with an all boys school called Sacred Heart. I'm sure you probably interviewed some people. Yes. So we used to have like houses where like two because there were four dormitories in Lourdes. So two dormitories would go for the first house visit, and they would part the dormitories in Sacred Heart as well, like to match the ones from Lourdes. And then another group would go, and it was such a big event. Like it was like everybody came to school with knew everything, you know.
Right.
For that day. Yeah, but then they stopped it when I was like in Form 3. I guess some things happened. And
wait, are you sure they stopped it? I don't know. Because I remember my classmates, they always spoke about house feasts, and they still went to those, actually. Like going to the house feast, like to either the boys come to the girls' school or the girls go to the boys' school. Maybe they halted it and then they resumed it. I'm not sure.
They did. They halted it for like up until when I graduated, it was still not even going on. We also had school feast with but it was just a high school of Sacred Heart boys, because their school was a lot bigger than ours. So their high school boys would come to our school for school feast once a year as well. So they halted it when I was Form 3, but I think they brought it back like some years later.
Oh, okay.
And then they stopped it again.
Oh my gosh.
So I don't know if it's going on right now, but that was definitely, it was an opportunity to actually mingle with the other sex.
Yeah, that's true. Once a month, you guys had the opportunity to mingle.
Yes. No, once a year.
It's once a year? Oh my gosh. Oh no.
It was like a ball for us.
Oh my goodness. Of course, it will be a ball if you guys had the opportunity to mingle just once a year.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So we got to meet them too at like Osuk when we went, for like the youth sport in town.
Yes.
So everybody tried to be an athlete, obviously.
Yes, I remember those youth sports. We also had like the Presbyterian sporting events. And one of my fondest memories, oh my God, when I was in high school, I was a cheerleader. We called ourselves Pom Pom Girls. Oh my God, it was so cheesy. Some of us just wanted to be pom pom girls because we had to wear like the short tennis skirts and stuff like that. Right? It was so interesting.
You got to go downtown too, and then obviously you were the eye catchers.
Right. Oh my God, that was so cheesy.
I know. I played basketball.
Oh, nice. No, I wasn't really into any. I mean, I wasn't like professional in any of the sports just because I couldn't. I mean, I had my own issues. Oh my goodness.
Girl, you did. You did Pom Pom Girls. And I'm sure you did really well. I trust you.
Oh my God. That was so funny. That was interesting. I know. Yeah. That was really interesting. Wow. So like, how about your experience? What school did you go to in high school?
I went to CPC Bali in high school
and
1 year.
And that's a Protestant school, and a boy and girl, both sexes. And how different was it from Lourdes?
Oh my God, it was so. I can't even. I don't even think I was. I didn't think I was in school, because when I compared it to like Lourdes is so structured. Like you wake up in the morning at 5, you take a shower, you go to mass, you come back, you have breakfast, you have school, you have lunch, you have prep in the afternoon. Everybody studies. You have siesta.
Yeah. That's basically how our school was as well. Very structured.
Yes, but I'm telling you, with Lourdes, it was like a graveyard during siesta. You would not hear a pin.
Yeah.
And then there was afternoon prep, and then our books stayed in class.
Yeah.
So we each had individual lockers in Lourdes.
Yes.
So we didn't study in the dormitory.
Yeah, no, we didn't. Did they study in the dorms in Bali?
Oh my goodness, are you kidding me? That's the only place you could study, because
oh my God,
the Form 5 boys would come during prep time and just be like rowdy and like trying to how make people's lives miserable.
I know.
Yeah.
Funny enough, right? Back in the day, we always looked at, like, for some reason, we had some kind of fear for students from CPC Bali. And this is a very subjective outlook, by the way. It wasn't like a standard thing, you know, like I remember most of my friends and I, like a lot of us, like from the because, you know, childishness, we always like ranking the schools. We're like, oh yeah, PSS is the best. And you were even some rivals with like the Sacred Heart College and even your school, because we were trying to compete on who's the best compared, like in terms of the results from the final standardized exams and stuff like that. So it's like people from CPC Bali, we always thought they were like ruffians. We call them ruffians, right? Like, because we felt like the school just did not have any kind of structure. The students were very aggressive. Like, we just had this fear for students from that school, which I don't even, it was so uncalled for.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it was quite an experience for me. I have to tell you, I had this afternoon biology class I'll never forget. I had to pick between doing that class and we had this manual labor thing on Wednesdays where we had to clean up and if I didn't do that, then I'd get punished for it. And then if I went, yes. And
so school was not really that much of a priority.
Exactly. Like, manual labor, like, graduated you up. And I'm not dissing Bali in any way. I just feel like maybe
it's different experiences.
Exactly. It's just my experience. And that year, there were too many students because it was a Golden Jubilee year. And I think after that, they brought this other principal who really like restructured everything. So it became like way better, like, you know, for students that were coming from outside. Yeah. But the one thing I'll tell you, Bali made me stronger. And it gave me the opportunity to actually interact with like different kinds of people because lessons, like our temperaments are very similar.
Yes. That is spot on.
So
like you can see someone and tell like this is a lesson. Like you don't even have to either a lesson or a secret. And I love my girls. I love my secrets. I love my lessons. But there's just this one thing. And it's not even only those two schools. Like any girl that went to a single sex school, you could tell. And sometimes even the boys that went to a single sex school, you could tell. Like there's just something about them, you know?
Yeah, you can definitely tell. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But overall, you know, Bali did that for me, definitely. And then I think Lourdes, like, honestly, I would do it all over again if I had to. Like, Lourdes literally planted some foundation of who I am today as a person. Like, my discipline and my structure and my, you know, like, just my faith in people and my living with good intentions all the time. I think it came from Lourdes.
Right.
And I'm
right.
for that. Yeah, definitely.
Right. Well, thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate that. That was such a different outlook compared to, you know, what my friend Abomo told me about. So this is why I like having these conversations with different people who went to different schools. So I want to really thank you so much for, you know, this experience that you shared with us. And I hope that we can actually have this conversation again some other time. And, you know, of course, have you on. I've always wanted to have you on the platform. You know, there's a lot that we can really talk about. And can you please just quickly tell us about your program, I believe your business that you have about, you know, I know you're a coach, a life coach. So just quickly tell us about that before we wrap up.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, so my name is Anyoh from Bad. I'm sure Anyoh has already told you guys. I am the founder of Within. HealLoveAndGrow.com is my website. I am an awareness and connection life coach. I help individuals find ways to reconnect with themselves and reevaluate their values and their beliefs to match up to who they are today as people so they can actually self-actualize more easily. I truly believe that to grow in any area of life, you have to grow yourself first. Yes. It is the prerequisite to building any kind of relationship, any kind of like career, whether professionally, socially, you know, it's the foundation to everything. So if you can focus on building yourself, live with good intentions, and understand that everything that happens to you and all your emotions are part of what is necessary to grow you, you really start to live life with a little less stress.
Exactly.
So I love doing what I do. If you ever need to chat, you can always find me on Instagram at Within or Facebook, or you can catch up with me on our website as well. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And I'll have all of that information in the show notes for those who want to reach out to my good sister, Miss Coco Chanel Antoinette. Now you guys see who keeps me grounded all the time. So I love you so much. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and I'll talk to you later.
Absolutely. And I look forward to participating more.
Sure, for sure. Thank you. Bye.
You are. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks. You too. Bye. So that was super, 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 super refreshing to just hear a different outlook on boarding school life in Cameroon. And I'm sure people from other African countries can actually relate. Now we have one more person. And she basically is like one of the most interesting people I've ever met. She's just such a ball of fun and fresh air. You know, she's just, you know, she just brings that fun into the room, and she is so intentional. I really look up to her. And she probably doesn't know this, but I really learned a lot of life lessons from her. So I will be having next my good friend and big sis, Sharon, and she will be talking about her own experience. So I can't wait for you guys to hear it. So let's call Sharon and see what she's up to.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, Sharon. How's it going?
Going well. Thanks. How are you, Anyoh?
I'm doing wonderful. So I'm super happy to have you on here because I know you have like the best stories ever for when you were in boarding school, about when you were in boarding school. So I look forward to hearing about them. Now, just for the people who don't know, like we both actually went to the same boarding school. So, I mean, I've already recited or told you guys the typical day in the life of a boarding student that went to PSS Mankan. So we don't have to get back to it, but let's just go straight into like the fond memories that you may have had. I know you're a couple of classes ahead of me, and you were in PSS just for 4 years, so you didn't attend all 7 years. So can you just tell me some of those things that still bring you memories and just make you feel nostalgic, or just some, you know, interesting stories that you experienced back then?
Absolutely. I have so many, but I'll just narrow it down to 3.
Yeah.
Before I get started, my name is Sharon. I am a student of the class of 1994.
Oh, wow.
That's the year I went into Form 1.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say that boarding school helped shape me into the woman that I am today.
Mm-hmm.
Many of the friends I have are folks that I met in boarding school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've been to universities. I've done my master's degree in the U.S. And I have friends that I've made along the way, but those relationships are not as strong as my friends from boarding school that I met, oh my God, almost 30 years ago.
I know.
So I mean, boarding school was amazing. I mean, I have really, really, when I think about my experience in boarding school, it puts a smile on my face.
Right.
Well, one of the memories I have is celebrating 11th February and 20th May, right? Mm-hmm. 11th February was Youth Day, 20th May, Independence Day for our beloved country, Cameroon. Mm-hmm. And we as students had the opportunity to go out and do a march past.
Yes.
You know, we would march, and it was a competition with all the other boarding schools. Mm-hmm. So this is something that we'll be practicing on campus for weeks. Yeah. You know, for hours at a time to get it right. So that we could be the best in the region. Mm-hmm. And when the day would come, you know, the excitement was, you know, second to none. Right. You know, the night before, we didn't have irons at school, right? So you wash your uniform, you fold it, you put it under your mattress, maybe a week or 2 before. Right. So you want those lines to be straight. You want to be looking sharp. Yeah. You would bleach your socks, polish your sandals, so you're looking sharp. And then, you know, as girls, we would brush our hair and put a scarf on it. Yes, tie it in a scarf so that your haircut, your palm will be sharp. You'd be the best dressed. Mm-hmm. And then the day would finally come, and it was an opportunity to leave campus, right? Because our school was fenced in. Yes. There was an opportunity to leave campus and go out to town, you know, meet and greet with our friends, our relatives, siblings from other schools. Sometimes if you had a crush that went to another school, that was an opportunity to see them, for them to see you. You know, you would eat all the goodies because, you know, we would go out in the morning. We would actually walk there as a school. Yes. You know, and go to the grounds and then just wait for our turn to march. And it would be hours before we would have the opportunity. But we would use that time up to eat everything that we had to eat on campus.
And do you know how, like, it's interesting because some of us, or some people, I don't want to say some of us because I can't even remember if I could afford it or not, but some people could afford getting a cab to go there, but like most students just wanted to walk. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think I ever took a taxi. I mean, I just walked. Mm-hmm. And if you think about it, it wasn't that long a distance, but it was hot. You know, but again, just the camaraderie, being amongst your friends, out of bounds. Mm-hmm. Are you kidding me?
I know.
I mean, I think what we look forward to was the food that we would buy on the way.
Yes.
You know, you get out of, as soon as you come out of the gate, there's puff right there.
Yeah.
Or somebody frying akra. Or grasshopper, right, mungwin on stick. I mean, we would eat scotch egg. Anything that was passing in sight, we would stop and buy it. And that, to me, was what was so much fun.
Yes.
And then, you know, we would march and, of course, hope to be the best.
Yes.
Which I think P.S.S. Mancon many, many times ranked in the top 3 in the 4 years that I was there. And then after that, the administration would usually declare an outing.
Yes.
So that was an opportunity for us to go home, eat cooked food, you know, fill up on our goodies to come back to campus. And then all the stories that we would talk about for weeks and weeks and weeks.
Yeah.
Because we wouldn't be let out of the gates again for a while.
Yeah.
So that's one of the fondest memories I have is, you know, celebrating Youth Day and Independence Day.
Yes, yes.
Another one that I want to share is, you know, just, you know, becoming a woman in boarding school, you know, going from a child, hitting puberty, going through that. And as you know, Anyoh, we came from a background, I don't know about your household, but my parents never had the talk, right, about the birds and the bees. You just kind of figured it out on your own. And we were raised to think, you know, liking the opposite sex was taboo.
Yes.
If our
yes, that's true.
Married and had kids out of the blue. Like we were taught to make it feel like it was so unnatural. So when I think about how I used to be in boarding school, I'm so embarrassed at how immature I was. Wow. Right? Because we enter boarding school at like age of 11 or 12.
Yes.
And then you pretty much grow up there.
You grow up. Yeah, that's very true.
You know, you learn how to wash your clothes. If you didn't know how to wash your clothes before, you better figure it out. Right. If you never knew how to fetch water, you're going to figure it out.
And we're talking about hand washing for those who who can relate. We're talking about hand washing, not machine washing.
Hand washing with a bar of soap that was huge. And at, 10, 11 years old, I mean, we even had classmates who came in to Form 1 at age 9. Yeah. Your fingers are tiny. And the bar of soap is like 5 times. And you have to hold it and wash it and, you had to figure it out. If you were lucky enough, like I was, when I was in Form 1, I had an older sister in Form 5 who would cut the soap for me. I mean, she pretty much did everything for me. So I was spoiled. But I had many classmates who were not as privileged to have an older sister or someone looking up big, right? B-I-G, quote unquote, looking out for them so they wouldn't be taken advantage of. My sister was there to show me the ropes, and that really, really helped. And then I had a little sister who came in 1 year after me. Our older sister had graduated and left, but we had a cousin who was now in Form 5 who was looking out for both of us. But, I'll say, the mature, again, going from a girl to a woman. So I remember the very first boy who told me he liked me. I cried. I was please don't like me because if you can recall, Anyoh, it was like liking boys was taboo. It was like, if a boy likes me, I'm going to get pregnant. I mean, that's what we were taught.
Oh my God. Actually, one thing our parents had failed to understand is like when you send your kid to like a school that has, boys and girls, not a same-sex school, right? Relationships are bound to happen. It's just very normal that relationships are bound to happen, especially between the boy and the girl back then, because, the whole idea of homosexuality and all of that, it was not even existent back then. I mean, it happened, but people were just ignorant about it. Like we had no idea. I didn't even know who a gay person was. I didn't even know who a bisexual person was. So that's why I'm saying not in the same sex schools. But now that we're aware of that, I wouldn't be surprised if things like that are also happening in the same sex schools. But all in all, whether same sex or, bi, I don't know, like mixed school. Yeah. Relationships are bound to happen, right? You put people 9 months out of 12 months in the same around each other every single day.
And some teenagers.
Teenagers.
Queens. Yes.
Right. So for me, my parents, I mean, my mom was always away because she was working in the UN, and, she started working even before I was a teenager. So most of the times, whenever she had that opportunity, especially when she came back to visit, she actually always had that conversation with us. Like once we started getting to boarding school, they were already having that, boyfriend conversation with us about our first period, about, sex and all these things. They already started having those conversations with us. But I also also remember when I first had my period, actually, my mom wasn't around. And back then, the discipline mistress who went to my mom's school and she was my mom's friend, she was the one who helped me through that process. Yeah, showing me like, this is what you do. I know, this is what you do and stuff like that. Yeah. So it was I actually think because my older sister was there in school as well, but then I think I saw my period before her. So it's like I didn't have anybody to guide me, you know what I mean? Right. So yeah, I had to go to her, and then my mom told her to help me and guide me and all of that.
You were so lucky, Anyoh. I did not have a similar experience. Mine was the complete opposite and I grew up in a house with parents who were very, very born again Christian. Oh. Right. So my mom had gone from being very Catholic to now born again, where everything was a sin. Right. And then you come now to boarding school environment where sex was shunned. We didn't talk about sex.
Yeah, we didn't talk about it.
People who were having sex, it was like, oh my God, but, they would look like, whores.
Yeah.
Like, what the heck? And I remember I used to write in my ledger. Remember the ledger?
The books. The big booklets.
Our notebooks. And I would write books before boys because boys bring babies.
Oh.
And I really believe that. So the very first boy said he liked me. I cried.
Oh my God.
I cried. I was like, please don't let me. I was like in Form 2. I was 12.
Oh
and
my
then,
gosh.
Girl, over the summer, when I hit puberty, okay, everything changed.
Right.
Okay. Form 1, Form 2, my uniforms were very baggy. I didn't care.
Yeah.
Right? That summer of Form 2 going into Form 3, I took all my uniforms to a tailor and had them tape them in.
Right.
Because now I had hips and I had a butt and my boobs were coming out.
Right.
I wanted to show off my shape. Right? No one told me. I just did it.
Yeah.
I sewed a thicker belt.
Right.
I started doing things that I grew my hair longer.
Yes.
Right? I even put product in my relaxer in my hair, and that was not allowed. And then for the first time when I wrote my shopping list, I asked for makeup. We used to wear powder and Vaseline. And Vaseline. I put powder on my shopping list. I put pads on my shopping list. And, the irony is my mom saw those things and never questioned them.
Wow.
So I went to school. I hadn't seen my period yet, but puberty was around the corner. And I remember I went to school and I got my period and I wore the pad the wrong side.
Oh.
Okay, so as you can imagine, that was painful. But
I know. And you had those thick pads. Oh my God. Those thick pads that could easily slip. Oh gosh.
The overnight pads. What we call here overnight pads. That way it was uncomfortable, I think Fatex was the brand.
Yeah,
right?
Fatex, yeah. Oh my gosh.
And
this memory
was the one who was like, Sharon, this is how you do it. And that's how I figured it out. And my mom was like, oh, you need pads. Okay. But that was it. But that was the home that we grew up in. And, I guess our parents can only teach us what they know.
I know.
Most of my friends, their parents were having that conversation with them. So we would help each other out, and that year, so this is now a year later, and the same boy told me he liked me. And I was like, okay, I like you too.
Right.
And then, back then you wouldn't, if a boy said he liked you, you wouldn't just like him back. You had to play hard to get.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes, you just didn't have to show that you were available. And then it was a taboo. If you told a guy that you liked him, everyone would just look at you like, this girl is dying.
You take that secret to your grave.
Right.
You're not just going to be upfront about it. And I liked him too, but I wasn't forthcoming.
Yeah.
You had to play the game. He had to buy you, cookies.
I know.
Not biscuits.
The cookies,
inside.
From the bakery, yeah.
Yes. Puree biscuits.
Yeah.
There'll be days that I'll fake that I had a tummy ache or I wasn't feeling well. So
to see if he checks on you or if he gets...
Exactly. You buy me puff-puff. You have the day students buy me puff-puff and roasted fish. And that went on for 2 weeks.
Right.
And then finally I was like, yes, I'll be your girlfriend. But it was just...
Wait, you guys had day students too? Oh, yeah. I think we did have day students, but they were not really in our time, the ones that we had, I know that there was this Indian girl who was a day student, but they were it was very rare to
We had day students. Actually, the driver of the school bus, right? The winter bus, as we used to call it. The driver of the school bus, his son was in our class.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember
the teachers who were on campus, most of the kids were day students.
Exactly.
Yeah. But even though they were kind of not allowed to go out.
Yes. But he had a free pass, right? And he was friends with the night watchman. So we would pay him. He would go and, the boys especially, they were trying to impress a girl.
Right.
They would buy her, go out to town. And remember the Kiss perfume?
Yes.
Which smelled awful.
Oh my God.
Hey, if a boy was giving you his perfume and Puree biscuit and like a fake, like the plastic rose,
yes.
he was into you.
Oh, yes,
so,
yes,
you milk it for all you could.
And then they always sprayed that rose with perfume.
Exactly. Oh my God. Was like such a
they always spray.
gesture.
I know, and a card. Yes. They always spray that rose with perfume, and then they say, "Oh my God!"
Then write a poem. Roses are red.
I know.
That violets are blue.
Oh my God.
Something. I'm in love with you, and I'm like, oh, it's so sweet. And then we'll kind of laugh about it with our friends.
I know. Do you know what? I actually have a confession to make, right?
Yeah.
Like, I actually have a little box of all my high school letters and cards. I still have them till today. I don't know why I brought those when I was coming to America, but I have them somewhere in a closet or in the attic or somewhere. I still have all of those. Sometimes I go back and I read those letters and I'm like, what the heck were we thinking? Yeah. And then you see, like, back then we were
not dead back then.
I know.
It reminds you.
And then we were kind of like very influenced by the Western culture. That's when we started really getting that exposure. I had my first cell phone when I was 13. So that was around the era when cell phones just came, and you had, a lot of times when we went out on like an outing or an exit, which is basically permission for you to go out for something. I will go to, my friends and I, we're going to go to like online, we're going to go to AZ Lyrics and print out lyrics to songs and then like watch videos. And then it's like, you see the way we try to write cards and notes and letters and we're using like the American slang in the, oh my God. And I was just like, oh my God, this is so cheesy and corny.
Anyoh, that's amazing. Like you had a very different experience from me, right? Because you came into Form 1, 2000?
No, I went to Form 1, I think 98 or 99? I forgot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that was like...
You had a when you were 13. Okay.
Right, yeah.
We would listen to songs on cassette. And,
and then you stop and rewind. Oh, yeah, I did that too.
Right, and then you would rewind it and then listen and, they were speaking with an American accent. So we would do our best to figure out what they were saying.
Yes.
I had a songbook.
Yes,
and most of the lyrics were wrong. So once I came to America, and then I got accustomed to it, I'm like, oh my, we'll be singing this song wrong all our life.
You know what, Sharon? Actually, right, there's this specific song that I have never, ever succeeded to get it right, even when I know the lyric, even when I see the lyrics, because of how I got it wrong when I was listening to it in the radio and stopping. This Incomplete by Cisco. That song, like the Unleash the Dragon album, actually, that specific album, I used to, I would stop, rewind, and just write whatever
you thought
I heard. Yeah, so I swear, Incomplete, even Unleash the Dragon, honestly, I still cannot get the lyrics right. Like when I start singing it by myself, like without even reading the lyrics, I still go back to when I what I thought it was, which is so funny. Oh my God, this is so interesting.
Boarding school was amazing. It really was.
I know. And, it really was.
Just sitting in the dorm with your friends, just talking about nothing.
I know.
One of the memories I have too is, I don't know if you guys had Kosh Kosh. So there was
oh my God. Basically, AKA Boogie Monster.
yes, that was walk. And it was in every boarding school, not just in PSS Mancon, right?
Oh, yeah?
There was, and people would say, it was like half man, half horse.
Oh, my gosh.
It was a woman in white. And I remember sometimes we'll get so scared that we would like push the beds together.
Yes,
and then everyone would like sleep, like holding each other, with like body to body, because everyone was scared to sleep alone in their twin size beds.
Yes, I know.
But and then the boys would always be like, girls, the girls are always making stuff up. We're scared. And I remember one time, Coach went to the boys' dorms, and every boy who didn't know where their Bible was went and found their Bible, and they will hold their Bible close to their chest.
Oh my gosh!
Walking back to the dorm, because Coach was now in the boys' dorm. They stopped laughing at us because they knew it was believable. But
oh my God, that was so funny. I mean, when I look back at how innocent we were, how gullible we were, and then I look now, I'm just like, oh my God, times have changed. People's minds we were so innocent. People's minds are so toxic now. I don't even imagine the whole aspect of us. Like, first of all, in the dormitories, like you didn't have like separate rooms like they do have here. Like it was just one big hall with like 15 or 20 or 30 people living in one hall, and you had bunk beds, so people sleeping up and down. We shower in the same bathroom all together.
We didn't have covers.
Yep. No covers in the bathroom. Everybody sees you butt naked.
Right.
We do everything together, you know? Right. So, but now it's like kind of weird. I don't even know how they're doing it now, you know, because I mean, with social media and everything, a lot of minds are toxic, you know, and I don't even know, honestly. I would wish to be in a boarding school at this point in my life.
I would not want to send my kids to boarding school the same to PSS Manco now. Because times have changed. I mean, we were very, very
times
sheltered,
have changed,
you know.
Yeah.
There was no social media.
Yeah.
I mean, we believed this generation is the why. Generation. We were the yes generation.
Yes, we were the yes. That's very true. We never questioned.
Now they're like, why?
Yes.
My 7-year-old, why, mommy?
Yes.
Why?
Yes,
my 4-year-old,
that's very
I don't
true.
want to do it.
Yeah, that's very true.
I can't even imagine what it would be like for our children, for us to be in boarding school in this time.
Yeah. You know, and you know, back then even our parents would give teachers so much authority to discipline us and beat us. But I'm sure like if any teacher wants to discipline someone's kid, and discipline is even subjective because some people take it to an extreme, which is not even right, you know? Yeah. So, I mean, everybody's just so sensitive and things are very questionable. Things that, you know, it's hard. Everyone just treading lightly and stuff like that. It's so hard to even know what's right and what's wrong, you know? So, it's interesting. I would actually love to talk to someone who's in boarding school now back home to see how it goes, to see how they're doing. But but I don't think I will be envious of that.
For sure. I mean, the last memory I'd like to share, Anyoh, if time permits, is you know, I left PSS Malcolm after Form 4. Yeah. And the highlight of your boarding school career is Form 5.
Yes.
Until today. If I could go back and do it over, I would have stayed for Form 5.
Form 5, yes,
but unfortunately, I was living with my uncle at the time who raised me, and he was a diplomat.
Yes.
And he got, you know, marching orders. He was transferred to the U.S.
Yes.
So it was bittersweet because, of course, at 14, everybody wants to come to America. That's a dream.
Yes.
But at the same time, I'm like, my God, I've been in boarding school for 4 years. Finally, we have the power. We're going to be the upperclassmen.
Yes,
everyone
I know.
Will come to us, and then I had to leave.
You had to leave. You know, oh my God, that must be painful.
Course, you know, like the summer before Form 5, where, you know, I was a dormitory captain in Form 4.
Yeah,
you know,
so you had to be the dormitory captain in Form 5. Yeah.
But that was just a taste. So we're all looking forward to our final year where, you know, you run the school.
Yes.
You tell others what to do. You do whatever you want.
Yes.
You know, but I never got to experience that. But, you know, and I used to dream about it. I still do sometimes. I'm like, how would that have been?
Yeah.
You know, so I get nostalgic thinking about, you know, that I missed out. But, and then, you know, I came to America when I was 14 in 1998.
Yeah.
I didn't have any Cameroonian friends. You know?
Yeah. That was a huge culture shock as well.
Yes, that was a big culture shock. You know, I would dream about, you know, my experiences back home and what it would have been like. And I used to send magazines to my friends. I always kept in touch with my classmates. And then it wasn't like till the early 2000s, mid 2000s, that many of my classmates started coming to the U.S. and I befriended other Cameroonians who coincidentally went to Our Lady of Lourdes, you know, but just always puts a smile on my face when I think about my boarding school days, boycotting. I was always a rebel. I was very mischievous. I used to work punishment every Saturday. I remember there would be Saturdays where they would declare outing.
Right.
My sister would go home.
And you'll be working punishment.
For stealing pepper. For silly things, right?
Oh my gosh.
Harvest, remember, everything you did in TSS was a crime.
Right.
We had fruit trees. We're not allowed to pluck fruit from the fruit tree.
From the tree, yeah, that's true.
I was always the one climbing the tree. They'll be like, Sharon, go left, go right. With a stick and feeding down the mangoes. That was, whether they were ripe or unripe, that was me. I was the one feeding down the guavas. I was the one boycotting prep. You know, I was the one making noise. I was the one, and I was in the choir. I belonged to every group.
Right.
As long as it would allow me to go out of school. Some Sundays I was Catholic because the Catholics got to attend Mass, you know. Some Sundays, you know, I would be in the YP because YP had a rally somewhere.
And the YP is Presbyterian. So it's like you're Catholic this Sunday, you're Presbyterian this.
Whatever was convenient. I had my black and white YP uniform, okay?
Oh, my gosh.
While going out of town, I'm there. Whatever it took. And I'll be the one holding the cross, marching, during procession, right?
Yeah.
At the beginning of church service or at the end, I'm holding, but I was the biggest crime. Back then we say you're a criminal.
Oh, my gosh.
I was a rebel. I didn't really care much and I'm still kind of like that today. I don't really care much about what people thought of me.
Yeah,
I went completely against the status quo.
Right, and that's what I was actually gonna say. That I was talking to a friend the other day, and I was like, the people, if you notice, the people that were considered rebels back then, rebels in quotes, by the way, those are people that actually know what they want, and they did not go with the status quo. Like they actually, if you look at them today, they know what they want. Like they're very assertive towards their journey and their purpose, and that's just because back in boarding school, everybody wants to be safe, everybody wants to.
Be the good kid.
Yeah, to be the good kid. And I'll confess, actually, I was a good kid. Actually, the first time I've worked, since when I was in boarding school, like for the 7 years, I worked punishment once. And that was when I was in lower sit.
Wow.
Yeah, that was when I was in lower sit. And that's just because, the Genemang, we call it Genemang, but it's a kind of hazing when you're coming to a first class in lower sit. And in high school, that's the freshmen in high school. They kind of just give you trouble, and they're just looking for ways to punish you. And that's the only time that I work punishment. But, everybody wants to be so safe to the point that sometimes it even compromises their experience, because now you have all these fun stories to tell, and I'm just like, oh yeah, boring me.
Girl, I would go back and Form 1, I'm like, what are you going to do? My sister is your classmate. I mean, I would say that to people.
Oh my goodness.
Like, fetch me water. I'm like, do it yourself.
Oh.
I was considered rude. So then, you can imagine, my sister, the girls in Form 4 who were one class behind my sister were planning to deal with me when my sister was graduating to leave. Right? But unfortunately for them, my cousin was in their class. So she always protected me. By the time you get to Form 3, you have rights. Right? I mean, you're not the youngest in the school. You're not the oldest. You kind of know your way around.
Yes.
So they couldn't do much. But
wow.
It's an amazing experience.
It really is. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing, Sharon. Just right before you go, I wanted to just give you the spotlight to talk about your business, because I know you recently launched your business, and you're all about financial literacy. So can you just share to our listeners a little bit about your business?
Absolutely. So I have been a retirement consultant for 17 years. I specialize in helping people better plan for retirement. That's what I do 9 to 5. But about 4 months ago, I became an insurance broker. So what that means is that I have access to about 27 companies where I can shop around for the best policies for my clients. So whether you need health insurance, life insurance, annuities, long-term care, I mean, name it all. Right? I can do that for you. I'm the type of person who will sit down, listen to your needs, and then find a product that best fits your needs, and of course is affordable. So definitely hit me up. My number is 240-535-6870. I think I'm very easy to speak to.
Yes.
I'm just very passionate about that. Our community needs this so bad.
They do.
We have a lot of rich people who are financially poor.
Yes.
Right? Because they don't know what to do with your assets. They don't know how to best invest your assets.
Yes.
We have to learn to work smarter, not harder. And that's my goal, is to help folks save up so they can retire comfortably, save for their children's college savings, plan vacation, whatever it is that your heart's desire. I'm here.
Right. Thank you so much for sharing. And I will get your contact information and put in our show notes so that anybody who wants to reach out to you can definitely reach out. But I really appreciate all of the stories that you guys shared with me today. Like, this is such an interesting episode. I had such a ball, and I really appreciate you taking that time to just talk and reminisce about your life in boarding school. And hopefully we can do this again with you and with other people.
Absolutely.
Like, I want to start this as a series, but I'm still thinking about it. But this has been such a refreshing conversation, and I hope to have that again. But thank you so much, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And have a good night.
That's it for today. Thank you for listening to our show. If you want to participate in the show or find out more helpful resources, then visit www.livingafricanpodcast.com for more information or email us at hello@livingafricanpodcast.com. Also, don't forget to connect with us on all social media platforms at Living African Podcast. You can also connect with Anyoh directly on Facebook or Instagram at Anyoh Fambard. Thanks again for listening, and let's not forget to be more understanding and nicer to one another.